Moderna's chairman is standing by the company's data on its potential coronavirus vaccine. The comments are in response to a report that raised a number of questions and led to a volatile few days for the stock. Meg Terrell joins us right now with more on this. And Meg, this is something that played out on our air on Monday morning.
It sure did, Becky. And the story really began on Friday when Moncef Slaoui, the new head of Operation Warp Speed, the government's effort to speed vaccines for COVID-19 to market, made some comments about an early clinical trial that he got a peek at and that made him more confident, he said, in being able to get a vaccine by the end of the year. Of course, he was on Moderna's board. He didn't reference Moderna, but the implication everybody thought was that he was talking about Moderna. And of course, he left the board on Friday around the same time. Monday morning, of course, we saw those data from Moderna, and Stéphane Bancel, the CEO, joined us on Squawk Box to talk about them. He thought they were very promising, as many people did, but also very early. And then, of course, Monday afternoon, Moderna sold $1.25 billion worth of stock. Tuesday, Stat News put out a story talking with vaccine experts who said the data are very early and don't prove that this vaccine is going to work. One of the things that the article...
So hold on. We're going to say, first of all, big up and welcome to Here to Help You. Here to help you.
Yes, I know. Here to help you's I bet it tomorrow. It's okay. Continue.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Yes,
Happy
yes.
Friday to a better...
To a better tomorrow. How you mean? Happy.
It's been a day. Guys, so hold on. Before we go into the stories, because we're going to dive right into this. We don't got time. We're a little bit behind, as usual. So the last thing she said was, they are not sure if this vaccine is going to work. Does that not scare anybody? Is anyone not a little bit concerned when they hear this? So I hope it raises some concerns. Most recently, we just found out that Moderna is one of the vaccine companies that will be rolling out these vaccines come the end of the year, going into the new year. And the CMO, which is the chief medical officer, Tal Zaks, sold almost all of his shares in the company, according to a report filed to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which raises a bit of concern about how we should be looking at this vaccine, and rightfully so. So, in general, when stakeholders believe in their product, they increase their shares in order to increase confidence in the market, which makes sense, right? If you believe in something, you invest in it.
Yes.
The move by Moderna officials to do the opposite raises concerns about the company, especially considering that Zaks, who sold almost all of his shares, is on the scientific side of it. This is the chief medical officer. That's him right there. So Jay Clayton, chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, responded that companies should avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Why would you want to even raise the question that you're doing something that's inappropriate, he said. Again, if you have I don't know anyone who's a gambling man who, if they knew for a fact they could make billions of dollars, they would say, no, I'm folding. I'm not doing this, right? So CEO Stéphane Bancel has also cashed out on his shares. So this is not just one person doing it. This is a couple people.
Yeah.
In total, 7 corporate executives and board members, as well as venture capital fund run by Moderna's board chairman, collectively sold almost $101 million worth of stock. So they're just saying, we don't want nothing to do with this. Why? Nell Minow, an expert in corporate governance and vice chair at Value Edge Advisors, says it is inadvisable for Moderna's corporate insiders to be selling stock, particularly in the midst of major news about its leading product, guys. Okay? So it can send the market a signal that is opposite of all the positive things that they are trying to communicate. By definition, it is very concerning whether it's pre-programmed. So a lot of them are saying that this whole thing was pre-programmed to happen, the selling of these shares. She's saying, even if it was pre-programmed or not, it's hard to believe that anybody who thought the company was going to be tremendously successful with this vaccine would be selling.
You know, my thing is that who's buying up the shares? If they're selling them, who's buying them? Right? Who's buying them up?
Someone wants to.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to be someone who probably doesn't have the conscience to go through with this.
And that too, right? I mean, if they're selling the stocks, right? And of course, if they're bringing now, because insiders, if they're selling the stocks, that means the stock price will drop.
Oh boy, guys.
Well, right? Which means the value of the company will drop.
Yeah.
Right? Which means, of course, it's just right for the pickings for someone else to go ahead
and remember, they're the only vaccine companies are the only ones that are not held liable. So if you're not held liable and you're still this is like a sure thing. This is a win-win-win-win. And if you're saying no, 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 then maybe we should be saying no, 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 no to the vaccine too, guys. Just saying. If people who are worth making money off of this are saying no, we should maybe rethink this whole thing. And again, I'm never going to tell anyone to do anything. But I'm just saying you guys need to watch the trends and pay attention to the news. So some more news that's come up in the same topic of COVID, because we love this topic. There's been some advice for the general public about COVID-19 coronavirus. And what I found interesting is actually Grant shared this with me yesterday. And it was put out by Dieticians.ca. Okay. So it is important to receive information from credible, trustworthy sources during this time. Dietitians are regulated health professionals committed to providing evidence-based advice. I want to hear this. Evidence-based advice and information that is tailored to your personal needs and challenges. So if you read that, can we put that back up? Because I want people to what does that say there, Dave? Can you read it?
Please follow the advice of the public health officials. Do not spread misinformation. You cannot boost your immune system through diets. No specific food, supplement, or natural health product will prevent you from catching COVID-19. There are no natural health products approved to treat or protect against COVID-19. Please read our full statement, including additional FAQs, at www.dieticians.ca/news.
So Dieticians.ca is saying there are no healthy things. There's no supplements you can take. There's no foods you can eat. There's nothing that's going to help you with COVID. You must follow the governance that has been provided for you. Wear a mask that cuts off oxygen. Wash or sanitize your hands with products that have been in a serious state of recall. Okay? Nothing. So I figured we'd show the other side of the story. Okay? So there's always this side, but there's always two sides to everything. So researchers from Trinity College Dublin, I think that's what you just put up, they came out with, they found actually that vitamin D supplements may enhance resistance to respiratory infections, such as COVID-19, or limit the severity of the illness for those that do become infected. Remember, one side said there's nothing you can do, and then there's science that says vitamin D gives your immune system a boost. So why wouldn't you just eat stuff that have vitamin D or just go out in the sun? Dr. Declan Byron, and he's from St. James Hospital and School of Medicine, and Dr. Daniel McCartney, co-authors of the article published in the Irish Medical Journal, so this is something you can go check out yourself, on last Friday actually, recommended that adults living in Ireland take 20 to 50 micrograms of vitamin D per day. Okay, speaking about the findings, Dr. Declan C. Byron, clinical senior lecturer at St. James Hospital and School of Medicine, says these recommendations are important while we await development of a vaccine and trial evidence of effective drug treatments for COVID-19. Our findings call for and these are his words, our findings call for the immediate supplementation of all hospital inpatients, nursing home residents, and older Irish adults with vitamin D. Our findings also suggest that vitamin D supplementation in the broader adult population, and particularly in frontline healthcare workers, may further help to limit infection and flatten the COVID-19 curve. I want to remind you, That very first red posting said there's absolutely nothing that you can eat or take. No supplements that's going to help you. And then science is saying these things can help you. Vitamin D. Let's move on. I'll just provide a little bit more because you know what? I figured I would go around the world, right? Let's just not stay in one place. They could be biased. It could just be Irish people, right? Okay. So let's go to Indonesia. So Indonesian researchers added fuel with a study analyzing 780 patients who tested positive for the coronavirus. Among those patients determined as vitamin D deficient, 98.8% died. I want you, again, go and check these numbers. I'm not pulling them out of nowhere. I provided the resources here. Go check this website out and read for yourself. Professor Ian Brighthorpe, an Australian nutritional guru who pioneered the importance of vitamin supplements for decades, says, "We know that a safe and effective vaccine may be a long way off. So it seems madness that in the meantime, we do not use all of the defenses such as vitamin D, which is safe and cost effective. The cost per person would be about $10 to $20 a day." I have more science for the Dieticians.ca, okay? Professor Adrian Martineau, an expert on immunity at Queen Mary University of London, so we're in the UK now, says that vitamin D helps the body to fight viral respiratory infections. It boosts the ability of cells to kill viruses and at the same time dampens down harmful inflammation, which is one of the biggest problems with coronavirus. But how many people are lacking in vitamin D? Why do they keep talking about this vitamin D? So a survey from Trinity College Dublin says 1 in 8 people under 50 years of age are deficient in vitamin D. And I will remind you, us melanated people, we are even more so deficient because of our melanin. We need even more vitamin D because of the melanin in our skin. So in North America, it's estimated that 2 in 5 people are deficient in vitamin D, particularly during the winter months, which doubles the risk of the flu, hence the flu season, guys. And according to the National Institute of Health in the US, 81.1% of Black American adults are deficient in vitamin C, going back to my original point. So,
You mean vitamin D?
did I say vitamin C?
Yeah.
They're probably deficient in vitamin C too. But in this case, it's
But
vitamin
we
D.
just want to make sure that, we're following the script.
Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave.
No worries.
There appears to be a connection between nutrition and immunity in the elderly. Okay, so there's been a connection. A form of malnutrition that is surprisingly common even in affluent countries is known as micronutrient malnutrition. Micronutrient malnutrition, in which a person is deficient in some essential vitamins and trace minerals that are obtained from or supplemented by diet, can happen in the elderly. Older people tend to eat less and often have less variety in their diets. One important question is whether dietary supplements may help older people maintain a healthier immune system. Older people should discuss these type of questions with their physicians. So we have Dieticians.ca saying that there is absolutely nothing you can yum to help you get better or feel better or to build your immune system. You have to just listen to the governance. And then I just presented research from 4 different countries, pretty much like different continents altogether.
When I first read when you first showed it to me last night, I thought it was a joke at first. Until I actually went to the website.
And read it.
And like everybody else out there should definitely go to Dieticians.ca.
Read it.
Right? And I was very... It's almost surreal in regards to, of course, that blatant information coming out like that, especially coming from Dieticians.ca.
That's crazy.
Yes.
How are you going to say, are you going to disprove now all of these doctors and scientists, all of them, when your job is to make sure that we are eating properly and they're providing us with the proper information on how to build our immune systems, And again, you're telling us to just wear masks and sanitize. There is something wrong, people. But anyhow, we're going to move on from this. I just want to make sure. I'm going to keep talking about it. It's the only way to make sure that this information is repeated. You have to understand, the reason why many of us are already programmed is because information has been repeated to us over and over and over again. So I'm going to repeat this information over and over and over again.
There you go.
Take your vitamins, eat well, get exercise, get sleep, take care of your mental health, stop the stress. You will make it through this. Trust me. Listen, we're going 8 months, no type of COVID, no colds, no flu, nothing, guys. Like, what can we say?
There you go.
All right, so when we come back, we're going to stick on COVID a little bit because they tried to bring COVID to the chicken. They tried to take chicken from us, brethren. Chicken guy.
It's okay.
So upset.
I think we can survive without chicken for a bit.
I guess so, but chicken, chicken wings too. Guys, we'll see you on a better tomorrow.
See you after the break.
Welcome back, COVID-free friends. Vaccine-free friends. How are you guys on this wonderful Friday afternoon?
You ready? Let's do this.
I was just greeting everybody.
I know. Let's do this. So, as we mentioned just before the break, that
Them Tekwa chicken from us.
yeah,
COVID.
definitely. So, 2 cities in China have found traces of the new coronavirus in cargoes imported from frozen food, local authorities said on Thursday, although the World Health Organization downplayed the risk of the virus entering the food chain. Now, before I even go any further with respect to regards to like with the World Health Organization, right? They've also downplayed the coronavirus when it first started.
When it first started, yeah. They're like, oh,
We don't see the risk of it spreading,
guys.
right? And now we see what's happening around the world. Now, I'm not saying, of course, this is exactly what's taking place. However, though,
sounds like it.
Right?
Looks like a duck, sounds like a duck.
And quacks like a duck, then by all means.
Ducky.
There you go. A sample taken from the surface of frozen chicken wings imported into the southern city of, and I'm going to mess up these names, I know that for now, Shenzhen.
That sounds pretty good.
Not bad, right?
Yeah, man.
Cool. All right, from Brazil, as well as samples from outer packaging of frozen Ecuadorian shrimp sold in the northwestern city of Xi'an. Again, I'm sorry if I pronounced the names wrong. You guys can see me later, right? Have tested positive for the virus, local Chinese authorities have said. Shenzhen authorities identified the chicken as originating from a plant owned by Aurora, Brazil's third largest poultry and pork exporter. As confirmed COVID-19 cases continue to rise globally, the discoveries raise fresh concerns that the coronavirus that causes the disease can spread on surfaces and enter the food chain. A day earlier, officials started investigating whether the first COVID-19 cases in New Zealand in more than 3 months were imported by freight. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and Agricultural Department said in a joint statement, there is no evidence that people can contract COVID-19 from food or from food packaging. Shenzhen's health authorities traced and tested everyone who might have come into the contact with potentially contaminated food products, and all results were negative, the city notice said. So, again, it seems like they're flip-flopping back and forth in regards to, hey, can they catch it?
Corona
Can they
get
not
on
catch
chicken, frozen chicken and shrimps?
All right, if they're saying it can get on the freight, right, and then now they're saying that nobody can catch it, but yet, I don't know, man. They keep playing with our lives, family. Excuse me. They keep playing with our lives, definitely, right? It continues to state here that it is hard to say at which stage the frozen chicken got infected, said a China-based official at a Brazilian meat exporter. Li Fengguin, who heads a microbiology lab at the China National Center for Food Safety Risk Assessment, told reporters in June the possibility of contaminated frozen food causing new infections could not be ruled out. So it's very interesting in regards to what's taking place right now. By means, if they are attacking the food supply, and by means, like we said before, with the whole lockstep, this is one of the strategies, you guys, of course, taking away the food supply, right? So by means, listen, family, pay attention. Pay attention to the signs. Remember, if they're downplaying it right now, and they said the same thing before regarding the coronavirus,
pay attention, people.
That's all we can say.
So, on that note, there's something else we should be paying attention to on the complete other side of the world where the toilet flushes the other way. Australia. So, they have gone into lockdown 2.0. And let's talk about how that looks. And the reason why I think we should pay attention to this is just like with China. Things that happen there seem to spread and start happening everywhere else all over the world. So if they're locking down Australia and there's already talks about curfews here, I want you to take a look. This is a little, let's call this foreshadowing for my literary people out there. This is what this is. Melbourne, Australia's second largest city, is becoming a case study in handling a second wave of infections. Do you hear the rhetoric? So this is a case study, and what they do with case studies, for people who don't know, is they use it as examples of how to handle other cases when they come up. So more than 250,000 people were thrown out of work last week, Thursday. Those whose jobs are deemed essential need government-issued permits to travel the near-empty streets of a virtual ghost town to get to their jobs. The rolling restrictions have created confusion and uncertainty in a population navigating Australia's toughest ever lockdown that makes masks compulsory and that imposes an 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. So, Australia's second largest city is grappling with a spiraling coronavirus outbreak that has led to a lockdown with some of the toughest restrictions in the world, offering a preview of what many urban dwellers, Toronto, or urban dwellers, elsewhere could confront in coming weeks and months. Look at how empty those streets are. Even after masks became mandatory in the city 2 weeks ago, sounds familiar.
Yeah.
The spread continued, sounds familiar. And now, as officials try to break the chain of infection, Melbourne is being reshaped by sweeping enforcement and fine print. A confounding matrix of hefty fines for disobedience to the lockdown and minor exceptions for everything from romantic partners to home building has led to silent streets and endless versions of the question, so wait, so can I do? No, you can't. That's the answer always. Overwhelming force, and I want you to listen to that word, overwhelming force with precision seems to be the goal. The chief modelers of the pandemic response in Australia have found that the virus can be suppressed only if more than 70% of the population abides by social distancing guidelines and other public health rules. So Mr. Andrews said the new restrictions would take 250,000 more people out of their out routines in the hopes of reaching the necessary threshold. So retail stores will be closed, schools will return to at-home instruction, restaurants will be takeout or delivery only, childcare centers will be available only for permitted workers. Thanking those who complied with the new rules and scolding those, so the shaming, who did not, it was announced that no one in self-isolation would be allowed to exercise outdoors.
Wow.
A door-knocking campaign to check in on 3,000 people who had COVID-19 found that 800 of them were not at home. So all 800 of those people who are just stubborn and not obeying the rules are getting fines from $4,957 and up for some of these fines. Did I say it wrong? Am I wrong? You could have just gone with it, you know?
I know we could have, right? So the fine for violators going forward, he said, will be
4,957 Australian dollars.
Right.
So then I was right. Working even legally will also become trickier. Other than, say, of course, hospital workers, frontline workers. You're going to actually need a permit. So if you're leaving your house, you're going to have a permit. In Australia, that's what they're doing. So Colin Furris, an epidemiologist and associate professor with the University of Toronto, said curfews can be great tools to help contain outbreaks. So some things that he highlighted. Use of masks during COVID-19 are not always the answer. This is from his mouth, okay? Same one who was saying that these curfews could be good.
Actually, could we go ahead and actually put the picture back up of this gentleman who's saying this? Is it gone completely? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Please. Yeah. Run that back, please. I want people to go ahead and see the face of this person who's saying these things.
Okay, and he fears people have a false sense of security when wearing masks. He's saying this, okay? To what extent can you persuade people to do what you want them to do? He said. According to Furness, a curfew can be used to enforce or reinforce a certain way of living. By the time they've announced, he said, all options should be closed and there should be nowhere to go for people but home. This is how you persuade people. You enforce it. You force it. Guys, pay attention. That's us in a couple months. You can run all you want. I'm going to say it. We said it here. Well, not first, but.
We said it.
Yeah, we said it. It's going to be happening. These lockdowns. Do you think the first lockdown was bad? Wait till they start. You have to have a permit for leave your house. You can't exercise outdoors. Are they crazy?
That's what's happening.
They're playing with our lives. So when we come back in our segment 3, for those who are interested, we'll be talking about a lot of things that have to do with slavery, but not in the way that people think. We're actually celebrating some people and talking about some discoveries that have happened and celebrating an artist right here from Toronto. Big up yourself. We'll see you soon on A Better Tomorrow.
We're watching a psychological psyop, as they call them, a psychological operation on the human mind. From the first moment that you enter the school system, you are being programmed to obey authority. And not to question authority. So everything is control of perception, which controls behavior.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to A Better Tomorrow. We're looking for a better tomorrow, and we're trying to do that today. Yay. What's going on?
All right, so U.S. slave who found freedom in my home city, Etobicoke.
Etobicoke.
Yes, will be memorialized with a cyborg twist. So, Rexdale-born and raised artist Quentin Versity Lindsay has won a city design
why you did
competition
this.
to honor Joshua Glover, who escaped slavery to live for decades in what is now Etobicoke.
Etobicoke.
Yes. Big
That's Dave's family.
Yes, big up my family. How you mean, man? Mayor John Tory announced Versity's design, a striding, suit-wearing Glover, a cyborg-style arm with dangling shackles behind him, will become a statue in the new Joshua
Huge.
Glover Park. Yes, very much. You can see the shackles at the end, the
That's
cyborg arm, and
cool.
the left hand. How you mean? Yes, how you mean, man? Of course.
Good for you,
Yes,
sir.
definitely. Versity's vision was chosen unanimously by a review panel of art and history experts. The announcement says Versity applied an Afro-futurist vision to the design and drew on life events of Glover, who found freedom in Canada in 1854. Glover gazes confidently into the future while throwing away the crushing chains of slavery with his mutilated cyborg arm, the announcement says.
Why is it mutilated? I'm going to ask Quentin.
We should.
Yeah.
Right? He clutches his books close to his chest, knowing that it is knowledge that will set him free and provide the power and spiritual endurance to overcome the indignities and sufferings of the past. Glover escaped a Missouri slave master in 1852, finding work at a Wisconsin sawmill until he was recaptured. Slavery opponents broke into the jail and freed Glover, who got to Upper Canada, that's Ontario, where slavery had been abolished. Right? He worked as a laborer for inn owner Thomas Montgomery and rented a house near what is now called Dundas Street West and Kingsway Crescent, according to the 2007 book Finding Freedom, The Untold Story of Joshua Glover, Runaway Slave. Right? At Thursday's ceremony at the Montgomery Inn Museum, the winning artist and OCAD University grad activist and musician said he tried to include a bit of his own origin story in the statue. I felt like I was limited to my circumstances, says Versity, right? He means referring to, of course, growing up in the wonderful city of Rexdale. Right? Joshua Glover made me realize that you don't have to allow your circumstances to define you.
That's right.
Right? Glover escaped a place where black Africans were seen as non-human. Right? So the statue shows him going from machine, this robot of society, then regaining his humanity as a participant in society.
I think there's a picture of that book, in case anyone wants to know a little bit more. There it is. Keep going.
Wonderful.
Keep going, Dave.
Yes.
Just so people can know
Of course.
who we're talking about.
Where am I? Yes. The statue and park will be in the Kingsway by the River development near Royal York Road and Dundas Street West. Versity's design shows Glover from the waist up. When asked if the statue will show his full body, the artist said he's talking to the city but hopes the tribute can be larger than life. Tory committed that ensuring that happens. So it looks like there's, the mayor, our mayor of ours, right, is going to go actually make sure some money's put behind it so that way the statue will
Can
be...
have legs.
That too, right?
How would he run without legs?
Stop it. Right, so the mayor praised Versity's designs and he hopes that Glover tribute will spark discussions about the contributions of black Torontonians and the anti-black racism they still face today. The work will be unveiled in 2021. Right? As you mentioned before, Finding Freedom, The Untold Story of Joshua Glover, the Runaway Slave, is actually done by Ruby West Jackson and Walter T. McDonald, that is. There you go. McConnell, right?
So you know what was interesting? No, we didn't. Trust me, we didn't.
Don't worry, we'll get to that in a moment.
We're gonna do that right now, actually. So we're gonna go into a video, but when we were putting the show together today, I usually wait for Dave to give me his stories, and I try to balance mine with his. And it was interesting because this is another story that Mrs. Jericho, our researcher, sent to me, and I thought it fit perfectly. So let's watch the video first, and then I'll talk a little bit more about this beautiful work that's being done by a group of amazing people.
I do recall very distinctively when I first encountered the wreckage of the South Suzanne. Being in the water, for me, it can become very, very meditative and quiet and beautiful. But when that beauty sort of encapsulated a slave shipwreck, you know, there's another sort of feeling you get. And I just remember seeing that wreckage there. And so I approached the wood and I reached out and grabbed it and touched it. And whatever you want to call it, I could feel the vibration, the energy, and the pain, and the suffering, and the horror. It's like I kind of close my eyes and I can audibly hear the agony and the scream.
If I closed my eyes and all I could think was to say inside my head, we never forgot about you. We came looking for you and we found you.
When we encounter these slave wreck sites, we like to go back to those people, that particular ethnic group, and tell them that we found their ancestors.
In Mozambique Island, we met a gentleman. He is a member of the Makua tribe, and he gave to us a cowrie-shelled encased basket. Inside that basket, he had put soil. And that soil came from the site that was the last footfall of people on the African continent before being boarded to ships. He asked us to take the soil and to bring it as close as possible to the wreck.
That was an opportunity for healing, and that was an opportunity that was symbolic because it connects the Americas, it connects South Africa, it connects Mozambique, and it connects it to the now and to the past.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, very much.
I think that's really cool. So
Very much.
Diving with a Purpose is a group of vibrant scuba divers determined to find, document, and positively identify slave shipwrecks. And in the process, they're also discovering deep connections to their own ancestry, which I think is beautiful. So why does this even matter? First of all, Black people can swim. Okay. Hence the scuba diving. Just making sure I make a point.
Okay.
Okay.
I see.
Why does it matter that we search for slave shipwrecks? So about 35,000 ships brought nearly 12.5 million captive Africans across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas between the 15th and 19th centuries, according to the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database. So of the estimated 500 to 1,000 ships that purportedly wrecked, only 5 have been found, okay? And of those, only 2 have been properly documented. Can you believe that? So fragments of these wooden ships are notoriously hard to find after centuries in the water, but such a small number of finds also points to a larger societal disinterest in their discovery. Maybe it's the lack of interest because of the fact that they're not going to find any jewels in there or gold coins. The treasures of these ships exist primarily in the form of knowledge and lost memory. That's all that they offer. But maybe it's also because this thread of history has been glossed over in our history books, that part of it about all these shipwrecks. But DWP has not forgotten and has worked diligently over the years to train more than 300 divers to help retrieve these lost stories. These people are not necessarily archaeologists or historians either. They are engineers, teachers, artists, students, and civil servants, just regular people who are passionate about scuba diving and who want to make a difference in the world somehow. So far, DWP divers have participated in 18 missions around the world to find submerged artifacts relevant to the Africa in the Americas. They work as partners of the Slave Wrecks Project, a collaboration of organizations hosted by the Smithsonian, that's such a tongue twister, Smithsonian's National Project, SWP, a collaboration of organizations hosted by, did I just say that already?
It's okay. Include George Washington University.
Thank you.
The National Park Service.
My days.
Submerged Resource Centers and
Southeast Archaeologist Center. Archaeological Center. Archaeological Center. Got it. Africa Center for Heritage Studies, and I'll let you say this one.
Ezekiel.
Yes, Museums of South Africa. So, it's weird that all those slave ships have shipwrecked, and they've only found like 5? That's crazy.
Yeah, you know, the Ethiopian Ocean, now known as the Atlantic Ocean, has been, it's a graveyard, right?
Yeah, I
so
heard.
even that number, in regards to what we presented right now, it's great. It's far more greater than that, right? But
Yeah, that's just what they have documented.
exactly.
All right, and the last one, because I think this is like our African history. Yeah, this is our African history segment for sure. Definitely. So we have a little bit more to close this up.
Yeah, by means, could we run the video, please?
Oh, yes, a video.
Yes.
German Southwest Africa was the one colony where Germans really settled, but in doing so they fought the indigents for control of scarce resources in this mostly arid territory. The Germans killed more than 80,000 Herero and Nama people. In fact, it's estimated 75% of the Herero were wiped out, and victim skulls taken away in a failed search for proof that white Europeans were superior.
Can you imagine? We say we are free, but the land is still occupied.
The years might have passed, but the Hereros and Namas still want justice amid lengthy talks between the German and Namibian governments.
Apology, recognition, and reparation. These are our main points, 3 points, which we are demanding from the German government. Because we cannot reconcile if somebody didn't apologize. The other thing is that there are negotiations between the two governments, but the real representative of the Namas and the Hereros are excluded from these negotiations. This makes things difficult.
Germany has ruled out paying compensation, offering to fund development projects instead.
Africa, there's a great...
All right, so as we see in here, the video from DW.com, it tells us that Namibia has rejected Germany's reparations offer for genocide. So the Namibian president has said a German offer of compensation for colonial-era mass killings needs to be revised. Among other things, he objected to the terminology used by Berlin, right? That's the president there. And once again, we apologize for the pronunciation or mispronunciation. Hage Gengob, right? And I hope I'm saying that correctly. I do. I apologize if I'm not. All right. However, though, this past Tuesday, he has turned down Germany's offer of 10 million euros, which was to about 11.7 million, right? A lot of money. Yeah, in reparations for the genocide committed by the German Empire at the state of the 20th century, right? The current offer for reparations made by the German government remains an outstanding issue, and it is not acceptable to the Namibian government, Gengob said. In a statement after a briefing on the status of negotiations. He added that the government special envoy, Zed Gavuri, and I hope I'm saying that correctly as well, would continue to negotiate for a revised offer. Gengob also took exception to Germany's use of the term healing the wounds in place of the word reparations, saying the terminology would be debated further.
Yeah.
Right? The two countries began negotiating an agreement in 2015 that would see Germany give an official apology and development aid as compensation for the killing of tens of thousands of indigenous Herero and Nama people by German occupiers in 1904 straight through to 1908. Right? Historians say some 65,000 of the 80,000 Herero and at least 10,000 of the 20,000 Nama died in what is widely accepted as the first genocide of the 20th century.
Wow.
Germany ruled the colony from 1884 to 1915, and pay attention to those dates, because anybody who understands the Brussels and Berlin conference is exactly during the time, I guess, when they went ahead and carved up, of course, our motherland, right? Namibia then came under South African rule, right, for 75 years before gaining independence in 1990. Descendants of the few survivors are still seeking $4 billion compensation from the German government for what they claim as an orchestrated campaign of extermination that preceded Germany's genocidal policies of World War II. Right? So by means, it's deadly in regards to what's taking place. You know, for them, knowing history, the books tell us already in regards to their, you know, commitment and their involvement in the carving up of the continent, right? For them to renaming it to, of course, you know, German, remember what the video said, you know, German controlled or German Namibia, right? Makes no sense whatsoever. And these people don't want to go ahead and a paltry $11 million? Really? Listen, man. These people, man.
Disrespectful, Tim.
What do you mean, man? In June, President Gengup suggested that Germany would offer an unreserved apology. However, Berlin is yet to do so, despite acknowledging that its colonial authorities perpetrated the atrocities. Right? Germany has repeatedly refused to pay direct reparations, as said, pointing to the millions of euros it has given to Namibia in development aid so far. You know, this is what happens when, of course, there is yet to be an national official body governing for something like this. Because, you know, if we were to go ahead, we as a people were to say, hey, listen, you know, it is time now, and have that one functioning body, right? We would go ahead and bankrupt the world, right? We're not just talking, of course, the Europeans' involvement. We're talking as well as the Arab involvement. So by means that some of that oil money they've been sitting on for a while needs to come our way, right? Those Europeans, you know, by means need to come off them checks. Come off them checks.
Speaking of checks, CERB done. And we'll talk about that in the next segment of A Better Tomorrow. I guess that ain't better. I don't know. We'll see. See you guys soon.
We're watching a psychological PSYOP, as they call them, a psychological operation on the human mind. From the first moment that you enter the school system, you are being programmed to obey authority and not to question authority. So everything is control of perception, which controls behavior.
Welcome back, guys. So this is the end of the show, pretty much. CERB done.
Wow. That was very quick.
Money luck off. I don't know what else you guys want to hear about this. If you want to hear the details, I guess we can give you the details, but like.
Right. So this is what we know so far. So the last eligibility period for which Canadians can receive the $2,000 a month benefit ends on September 26th.
So does that mean you guys get it for one more month?
The people who are out there who are qualified for it, yes, they get it for one more month.
So you have just September, and then that's
September
it.
26th, and that's
done.
it. Right? And after that, they are supposed to transition into EI, or what is called as, of course, employment insurance. So, Employment Minister Carla, and I'm going to mess up her last name here, Qualtrough, has promised a seamless transition, right? who knows what that seamless transition
It's never
really
a damn
gonna look
seamless
like.
transition. They're
Right?
lying.
All right, so I had some numbers. I'm not going to bother to go through them. However, though, there were some questions that Ms. Qualtrough did answer at a most recent, I guess, online virtual press release. Right? So some of the questions were, which out-of-work CERB recipients will continue to receive support? Qualtrough has vowed no one will be left behind in the move to EI. But McDonald warned millions could fall through the cracks if the transition is done wrong.
Okay, hold on. Let me just stop you here for a second.
Uh-huh.
Because we do have people who watch us who are not living in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to explain what CERB is. So CERB is an emergency response fund that was put together by the Canadian government. And since April, those who were not able to go to work due to the lockdown, they received $2,000 a month.
Yes.
Okay, and that it was supposed to only run from April to June, but because of the extended lockdown, it extended out again, like Dave said, to September 26th. So just so I can give you guys who are not from Canada a little bit of a catch up on what's happening.
Yes,
okay.
and McDonald, that happens to be David McDonald, who is an economist at the Canadian Center of Policy Alternatives. All right. Canadians who were eligible for EI before CERB, if you fall into this group, you can breathe easier than most. McDonald calculates at least 1.4 million people who were on CERB in mid-July would have qualified for EI under the traditional regime. Simply, this means, under regular, I guess,
circumstances.
There you go, right? The estimate is based on numbers from the Labor Force Survey, which differs slightly from the ones McDonald used to calculate the overall number of CERB recipients at the start of August. Right, still one concern for these Canadians is how much they will receive from EI compared, of course, to CERB. More than 800,000 people is likely or will be likely to stand, to get less than the $500 a week emergency benefits. On average, these workers may be only receiving about $312 a week.
$312.
Yeah.
I put up a whole bunch of facts. People can read those over while you're going through what you're going through here.
In an upcoming report, McDonald further found that around 70,000 CERB recipients will receive between $200 and $300 a week through EI, while a whopping 285,000 would receive only
$100, $200, brethren? How are people supposed to live off of that?
Well, that's all part of the program. Right? 87% of CERB recipients in BC and 84% of the recipients in Ontario will be worse off or be left without benefits in the rollover to EI under the current rules. Right? Which is definitely alarming.
And that's nothing for anyone who is an entrepreneur. I hope you realize none of this shit is for you. None of it.
Right? I'm going to skip over some of this information by means there is an interview that's out there. You can definitely go ahead and actually Google.
They're going to eventually put this up on the website too.
Right. I'm sure, of course, all news outlets will go ahead and actually post these numbers up as well. However, though, the following: CERB recipients who are working part-time. So if you are earning $1,000 a month or less, you can still work and still receive CERB. But the EI rules are different. In general, workers must be completely out of work with no wage income in order to enroll in EI. Although it is possible to resume working part-time while you're on EI. I know in the past you can work up to X amount of hours.
Yes.
Right? I'm not sure if that's still going to work in this case.
I think so.
Right. However, though, please check the government's websites. Right? Parents who had to stop working due to lack of childcare. Wow, the CERB is still available to those who are first to trim their hours or give a working due to family caregiving duties. EI is not. There are at least 18,000 people in this situation, though the true figure is likely much larger.
Oh boy.
Right? Self-employed and gig workers,
Skip.
EI, as you mentioned before.
Not you.
Definitely not.
Sorry.
Right? Also, those who don't have enough hours to qualify for EI, there were around 150,000 people who made $5,000 in the past year but didn't have enough employment hours to qualify for EI. However, that number is likely dropped down to about 50,000 when Ottawa announced changes on August 10th that it will effectively lower the number of hours of insurable employment needed to access the program. By means, like I said before, you definitely want to go ahead and make sure that you jump online to whatever news outlet, whatever government, of course, response.
You have about a month.
Call CRA if you need to. get some information regarding, of course, what will take place, what is going to happen. Because I tell you this, it's going to be hell and high water, all right? Those phone lines are definitely going to be lit up during the month of September, going into October, and especially for the rest of the year. I do have more information here. I'm not going to go bother reading any more information here because I guess we can go ahead and realize the picture, guys, of what is happening, right?
Guys, it's about to get real ugly, honestly. That didn't end with a better tomorrow, but you do have something good to talk about. You have one more thing to just quickly tell them before we leave.
Yeah, let's do that, right? As we all know, of course, the RBG is celebrating, of course, the 100 years. Big up Marcus Garvey. I believe we do have a flyer for it. Yes, there it is. So Monday, August 17th, what happens to be, of course, the birthday or the birth strong of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So look for us in the Whirlwind, which is a virtual global gathering and reasoning with Pan-Africans and as well as Afro-futurists, right? This is hosted by BSAM, otherwise known as Black Speculative Arts Movements. Go to their website, or better means, go to Eventbrite, type in, of course, the look for us in the Whirlwind events, and by means, it should be a really, really wonderful moderated event. They got speakers from pretty much all over the world, including Marcus Garvey's son himself, Dr. Julius Garvey. He will be taking place, of course, being part of the discussions online.
Yay! Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we're going to ask you the same thing we do every week. Definitely, if there's information in here that moved you in any way like that, definitely share this out with anyone who you think this information will benefit or at least help. And of course, comment. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to also get news from you. Again, I'm so thankful to the community members who have been sending in news. Keep doing it. And we want more of you to be sending in information, please. Obviously, we're going to check and recheck and reference and check everything you send in. So we may not get to all stuff, but if it's a good story, we will talk about it on the show.
For sure.
Guys, you have a wonderful Friday afternoon.
Oh, before we conclude, happy anniversary to the Cardis.
Okay.
Love you guys. For those who don't know, the Cardis, they are huge when it comes to, of course, African Canadian history. Love you guys, auntie and uncle. Love you.
You guys have a wonderful day. And of course, as always, we're always going to look to have a better tomorrow. See you guys next week.
Peace and love, family.
We're watching a psychological psyop, as they call them, a psychological operation on the human mind. From the first moment that you enter the school system, you are being programmed to obey authority. And not to question authority. So everything is control of perception, which controls behavior.